in this video, this will be the last one, I want to show you how to re-record your mix. So once you've finished recording everything, mixing it together using EQ, inserts, sends and so on, you'll want to record a copy of what you're hearing out of the speakers back into Pro Tools. So we could start in Pro Tools by creating a new track. So I've already done that and just called it main mix. The inputs and outputs will need to be set. It's pretty typical to just want to keep that right out of the way. So we'll usually start our mix on input 1 on the desk, and you'll need to keep a spare output for outputting your main mix post tape. So I'll also set that to 3132. Okay, the numbers don't really matter, it's just pretty typical to do that. And I can already input monitor that so that when we get the patching right, there should be level in Pro Tools. So we'll check that as we go on. And I'll also pop the fader out just so we've got that to play around with later. So if I hit play, we'll hear the mix that you would have done. Okay, so the scenario is we now want to re-record what's gotten to our mix bus. Now I'm not going to cover the difference between or how modern or retro works. At this stage you can just, as long as you understand that modern or retro are both a different version of your main mix, that's enough to know now. So this is what you're monitoring. You'll need to obviously decide which one of those paths to record, which will sound slightly different up here. So essentially modern is going to be the cleaner of the two technologies, whereas retro will add a bit more color or harmonic distortion to the mix. It's not drastic, but it is noticeable. So I'll just choose modern because it doesn't matter in this example. And what I should have on the end of these patch leads is the main mix. So everything that we've done, whatever we're hearing, as long as we're monitoring the main mix, is on the end of these patch leads. So I need to get these into our Pro Tools track, which is going to be the DAW record input. So I might just remove these other patch cables so that you can read the input labeling clearly. Okay, so DAW record input is the green row here, and because I'm input monitoring, you should be able to pan up to the fader in Pro Tools there and see the metering happening on the screen. Okay, so if I turn the master fader down, that goes away because that is what we're recording, and then back up, there it is again. So that part of the connection apparently is working because we can see the metering. The next thing we need to do, and this is the same as when you record a microphone signal, is we want to monitor the main mix that we're recording now. We want to monitor that post tape because potentially there could actually be a problem with these patch cables and it will still look like it's working, but it might sound bad or have some kind of artifact. So what we need to do is take our Pro Tools output, which is 3132 in this case. So what we have here is another green row, which is the interface outputs, and it's called DAW play, which makes sense. So if we take 3132, we should now have what's coming out of Pro Tools on the end of these patch leads. And we need a way to get that straight to our control room monitors without it going through the desk to avoid feedback. Of course, if we put our mix back here, this will be going to the main mix, which is the input to Pro Tools, which would be coming back here, and round it would go, causing feedback. So what we'll do is use an external input, which is a sort of a generic term for another input straight to the control room speakers. And in this room, it's labeled 2-track monitor in. Okay, so essentially our 2-track recorder is Pro Tools, and we want to monitor that. So I'm going to plug these patch leads into the 2-track input. And then lastly, we move back into the monitor source section here. And instead of monitoring either the modern or retro, which is our main mix, we want to swap to 2-track T1, or 2T1 it's labelled here, which will be the post-tape record signal. So if I hit that button and turn this up, we're now listening to what's coming out of Pro Tools. And a way to test that, again, is to move the fader. So I'll turn this up a little bit and do that. You hear the signal go away. That should tell you that, yes, you're definitely monitoring post-tape. So now you're hearing the output of what will be recorded, so you know everything's going to be okay. And from there, you can just hit record and pre-record this back into Pro Tools. Of course, you would record through your whole song, and then you export this file and take it to the next stage. So that's taken us through re-recording your main mix and monitoring it post-tape, and we've basically covered all of the key signal flow scenarios that you'll need to know to make good use of the room. Of course, there's lots of other techniques and tricks. You can explore the onboard compressors. You can insert compressors, external gear across your mix, your main mix if you want, and a number of other things. Alright, thanks, hope these help.